I'm Robert Cardoza, and you're watching On the Street, the intersection of business and politics. We're in our segment that we call the good news and the bad news. And don't forget, our next segment is going to be emails, and you're going to find some really interesting things there. But let's talk about the good news and the bad news. You know, I suppose part of the bad news would be the news that we received yesterday from North Korea saying that they might do a preemptive nuclear strike against the United States. The good news is Obama laughed and said, not to worry, we can defend ourselves. You know, it almost means like, you know, North Korea, you've been a pain in my butt for so long, we're going to make you cease to exist. You know, it's sort of like the needle trying to intimidate the haystack. Doesn't make any sense at all, right? But I'll tell you what we do have to worry about. We have to worry about the internet. You know, technology has become everything to us. Computers have become everything to us. Some people are convinced that the next war we have is going to be a cyber war, a cyber attack. Certainly something for us to be concerned about. And who do we have to worry about? We have to worry about China. We have to worry about Russia. That's where the real problem would come in with cyber attacks. Those people trying to hack our internet. And you say, well, gee, what's the big deal? We get in there, we fix it. Well, I'll tell you what's the big deal is. They can go in and destroy all the records of Wall Street. They can destroy all the records from the banks. They can destroy the power grids that we have. They can shut off your telephones. They even control water. They can do all of those things by attacking us from a cyber level. We have to be very, very careful. You know, I'm surprised that we're not hearing more about this, and it's because we're trying to build our defenses, and we're probably not hearing more about it because we don't want to give anybody any good ideas about it. We want to make sure the defenses are there. We want to be first with technology and the first with defense. That's where we've always been. That's where we want to stay. Can you imagine what would happen if they just shut down all the banks? You might say, well, hey, that's good because I owe the bank $200,000, $300,000, $400,000. If they erase that note, I'm in good shape. But you know what else goes with it? The ownership to your house or whatever you did. It's all those records are gone. How are you going to prove that you own that house? You know, most of us are going to be in a real serious problem. Think about what happened when Wall Street fell and they were worried about all the banks that were going to go under. Now we're sitting there with actually 5 major banks, but there's more than that, but 5 major banks controlling our economy. What would happen if in a cyber attack they shut them all down? All of a sudden, you have no money in your bank accounts. All of a sudden, you have no credit. Everything has been taken out. Or how about identity theft? If they can get into the banks and get into their information or get into the IRS or get into the federal government or fool around with defense, there's no limit to what they could do. Cyber attacks are what we have to worry about today. Everything else is pretty well taken care of. We continue to be the only superpower in the world. We've got, even with sequestration and cutting back and doing all those things, we still remain bigger than the next 8 biggest countries all put together. What we have to worry about are cyber attacks. That's where it's going to come from. I want to remind you, you know that when we had the financial problems we had, that was from Obama. Or I'm sorry, not Obama, Osama bin Laden. No, I suppose the Republicans would blame Obama, but it was Osama bin Laden. And he knew that he couldn't beat us militarily. He knew that he couldn't survive that. So all of the problems we had and all the things we're trying to get out of now are because he fought us from a financial standpoint. When he put those jets into the World Trade Center, and he just destroyed us because we had to beef up all of our military. We had to stop all our flights. We had to put in all kinds of security. We had to do all kinds of things that cost us billions or trillions of dollars. You know, that's where we came up with such a large national debt. He put us to our knees financially. That's what cyber attacks will do too. So we've got to be very, very, very careful when we talk about these things. You've got to be careful. That's why you have all of this software that tries to protect you. You don't want to have all that information out there, and you've got to be very, very careful. You know, a couple of days ago, I received an email from a really good friend of mine. It said he was on vacation with his family in Mexico and that he got mugged and they took his wallet and his money and his credit cards and everything. They were okay, but the hotel wouldn't let him out of the hotel to go to the airport till he paid his bill and he had no money. So he was asking for $2,600. Well, this guy's really a good friend of mine and I wasn't going to give it a second thought. I knew he would make it good. And then I said, wait a minute. I think I'll just call his office. Now, when I called his office, his wife picked up the phone, and she says, no, he's in a meeting right here in the conference room. How many people did that go out to? And I can tell you that actually came to me over his Yahoo account. I don't have one, but I don't know how many different ways that works, but I can tell you this much. He has a huge contact list, and they must have gotten to everybody on it, because I heard from a number of people. I called in immediately, and while I called in, there were 6 people on hold trying to get a hold of him for that very same thing. If they can do simple things like that on a cyber attack, just con you, think what they can do if they can actually get in there and manipulate the numbers. You know, when you saw that movie Network, and they actually were changing your credit histories and your credit cards and ownerships and who you were, that would all be possible in a cyber attack. Just think about how really miserable you can be. Now, coming up next, we're going to be talking about emails. I love emails. I generally don't know what I'm going to talk about until I get here in the studio. And the question that I have today is really a good one, and you're going to find it interesting. You don't want to miss it. I want to remind everyone that you can follow me on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Google+. If you missed any of my shows, you can go to youtube.com, and in the search area, put Robert Cardoza Live. And all of our shows will come up there. You can play each segment if you like just one particular segment, or you can go to the another section and play the entire show. It's just whatever you want to do, and we encourage you to do that. I'm going to ask you to please tell your friends to go to the YouTube website and to subscribe. It's free. What's going to wind up happening is every time we upload a new show, it's just going to send you an email saying, hey, a new On the Street has come up for you to see. And that's what we want you to do. I want you to register on YouTube. I want you to email me so I can answer your questions and know what your thoughts are. Nothing is more important to me than that. So remember, email me, tweet me, Facebook me, like me, hell, love me. That's the important thing that's going on. So that's what we want you to do. On the Street is the only place. You can go to NBC, CNBC, you can go to Fox, you can go any of these places and not get what you're getting here, which is the unbiased truth about what's going on. Now, you're watching On the Street, the intersection of business and politics. I'm Robert Cardoza.